Hi guys, I'm Christina Sundari and thank you so much for joining my very first Basics 101 tutorial. Today is going to be all about foundation, which is my very favorite makeup product. And reason for that is because I love a flawless finish. I think that it really just helps to enhance your skin's natural beauty. I'm going to be giving you the quick and dirty of foundation. So I'm going to be telling you all about primers. We're going to be going over different tools and techniques on how to apply foundation. And I'm also going to be telling you how to match yourself. Don't forget to subscribe if you haven't done that already. Give this video a big thumbs up and hit that bell so that you get notifications sent to your inbox on whenever I post a new video. Without further ado, let's get started. First, I want to talk about primers. The reason why I prefer a primer is for a couple of different reasons. First, I have combination skin, so I do get oily in the T-zone, and I usually get oily maybe 3 to 4 hours after I put my makeup on. And what I found with primer is that it really stretches the amount of time that I need to do a touch-up. But depending on what kind of look you're going for, you could definitely use the primer to your advantage. I'm going to talk about a few that I personally use just to give you guys some ideas on how you can use a primer. The first one is my favorite one right now, and it's the Too Faced Primed and Peachy Primer. I would say this is good for oily, combination, and normal skin. And I really like it because it sucks out any extra oils that I have in my face. What I also like about using a primer is I find that the primer really gives the skin a nice base for the foundation to not just stick to, but give it a nice even application. I hate it when foundation looks blotchy on people. I just want to fix their face. So don't be that person. Use a primer. Another one that I really like, and this one I would say you could use it if you have maybe normal skin or even dry skin, and this is the L'Oreal Magic Lumi Primer. This one actually has shimmer baked into it. So if you're going for more of a dewy look, then this is absolutely perfect. I like using this, me personally, in the wintertime because my skin does tend to get a little bit drier and it's not as oily. I really like this, especially if you have normal or dry skin and you need the extra hydration. This is very hydrating, but if you have oily skin or combination skin, then you could probably still use it, but to be completely honest, I mean, I don't really like it for my skin right now because I sweat a lot and I generate a lot of extra oil. So I feel like I'm just gonna look like a disco ball. There goes the primer. How I really feel about that primer right now. Another primer that I really like personally and is very, very popular is the Professional by Benefit Cosmetics. It has more of like a balm consistency, but it's good, especially if you have oilier skin, combination skin. I put a little bit extra, maybe around my nose or on my forehead, the areas that I know get a little bit oilier. And another primer that I actually just discovered because I got a little sample of it is the Stellar Brilliant Primer. For those of you guys that maybe haven't heard of Stellar, this is a very cool makeup company, especially for brown girls. So if you brown girls out there, you better listen to this. If you haven't heard of Stellar, it was actually founded by a South Asian woman who saw a gap in the market, and she saw that Indian women just do not have a makeup line at all. So she created this line for us. So it's like a light pink shimmery primer. I don't know if you guys can really see that, but it feels really nice on the skin too. And it smells really good. I'm all about smells. You guys literally need to go to Sephora and just play with primers because there are so many different textures. There's so many different consistencies. One kind of primer that I absolutely cannot put on my face is any kind of a silicone-based primer. Smashbox makes the silicone-based primers, and it would literally feel like oil on my face. And when I would put my foundation on, I don't know if it was a psychological thing, but I would feel like if anyone even hugged me, I feel like my whole face would just come right off. However, I will say that I do enjoy the Smashbox primer water. And what's nice about this is that it's like a spray. So you literally just spray it onto your face. So if you're someone that maybe doesn't even really like primer, but you know that you should probably use a primer, especially because it protects your face from all of the other makeup products that you're going to be throwing on there, this is a really good alternative too. Whew, I could have done an entire video about primers. Now I'm going to talk to you guys about a few of my favorite foundations that I like to use. First one is the NARS Sheer Glow Foundation. Now I've used this in a number of videos. I talk about it all the time with anyone who'll listen to me. And I wear the shade Tahoe. I've been wearing this for literally 5, 6 years. I really, really love NARS. I've never had a bad experience with any of NARS products. I love their lipsticks, their foundations, obviously, their concealers, powders. Every product that NARS makes, I swear, ends up just being amazing. Another foundation that I really love is the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation. And what's really cool about Estee Lauder is they have so many shades to choose from. I forget how many they have, but they have a lot. So if you've had trouble finding a good foundation for your skin, then maybe look into Estee Lauder. They have a lot of different shades to choose from. Another foundation that has a number of shades to choose from is actually this one by Maybelline. And this is the Matte and Poreless Foundation in the shade 332, Golden Caramel. They also have another Fit Me foundation for dry skin, which is very cool. And it's more hydrating. I forgot the name of it, but you can see this is kind of like in the blue ink. I think that one is like red ink. Skin type is very important to take into consideration when you're trying to select a foundation for the first time. If you have normal skin, likely you can use any foundation on your face. Nothing is gonna dry your skin out. Nothing's gonna cause a little bit more oiliness. However, you do still need to keep in mind that some foundations might be a little bit more drying than others. For combination skin, kind of the same deal. We're kind of a really unique hybrid because we get dry in certain areas and then we get oily in certain areas. The way I like to handle that is I might put a little bit of extra primer in the oily areas, or I might take a little bit of extra powder and really focus the powder into those problem areas. So for dry skin, there are a number of different foundations out there that are really not catered to dry skin. Growing up, my skin was on the drier side because I had eczema. The Fenty Beauty Foundation is drying. I've heard that it's more for people with oily to combination skin. So I personally have never had any issues with it. But if your skin is more on the drier side, then I would highly recommend using a really good moisturizer before you even put any makeup on. Make sure that you have a really good moisturizer, because then when you put the foundation on top of that, you're not going to get that tight feeling and you're not going to get flakiness throughout the day. And then I kind of skipped over oily skin. I guess you could kind of put that in the same category as combination skin. I would just make sure that you're using a really good primer that's going to suck up as much of that oil as possible. And then after you do your foundation, use a really good powder. I'm going to show you guys exactly how I do my everyday look, because I literally follow that 3-step process: primer, foundation, powder. Every single time. I always have to do all 3. If I don't, then I feel like my makeup's gonna come off. Oh, and a setting spray. I really like setting sprays because I feel like it is just setting everything in place. And I really don't like touching up my makeup. It is such a pain in the butt, especially when you're going out and you're already carrying this tiny little clutch. And then it's like, I gotta carry my lipstick, maybe also a lip gloss because I'm extra like that, and then a compact on top of that. Ain't nobody got time for that. Actually, let's be honest, I just don't have space for it. The 2 setting sprays that I really like are, first, the Urban Decay All Nighter Setting Spray. I've been using this one for years. I really love it. I feel like it truly sets your makeup in place, and I really don't need many touch-ups after using it. They say that it's the beauty industry's well-kept secret. It's the Makeup Forever Mist and Fix Setting Spray. What's cool about it is that you use it to set your face, but I also love using it when I'm doing my eyeshadow. So if you just spray a little bit onto your eyeshadow brush, it actually intensifies the shade. So if you're doing a crazy blue or an eccentric purple or something, it is very, very useful when you want just a more intense and darkened look. I want to talk about tools real quick. There are a number of different ways you can do your foundation, and it really just depends on your preference. First, there are brushes, and there are a number of different brushes you can use. My absolute favorite, as you guys know because I talk about it all the time, is the Sigma F80 Flat Kabuki brush. Why it's my favorite is because it gives my skin a really even coat of foundation, and it really helps minimize cakiness. So I'm going to show you guys how to use a Kabuki brush without cakiness. It took me a long time to really understand how to use foundation brushes because I used to be hooked on beauty blenders. But once I discovered this technique that I'm going to show you guys today, this is all I use now. I really don't use anything else to do my foundation. And I did want to talk about 2 more brushes. I was actually having lunch with my friend Nina today, and I was asking her, how do you do your foundation? And she was telling me that she actually uses a blush brush because that's what gives you an airbrushed effect. That is very true. So the brush that I wanted to show you, this one's actually from IT Cosmetics, and it is their airbrush brush. And it's airbrush because it's a nice fluffy brush. I personally prefer more of a harder feel from a brush. So that's what I get with the Kabuki. This is very, very soft. So if you want something that's a little softer, then I would highly recommend, you know, just a nice powder brush, or you could do a blush brush. Last brush that I'm really not psyched about, but I thought I would talk about it anyway because it's marketed as a foundation brush, is this one from Makeup Forever. A foundation brush is typically flat like this, very flat, and it's got a pretty dense set of bristles. And so the idea is that you brush it onto your face and then I guess you blend it with this too. I'm really not a fan of brushes like this because I find that this will absolutely give you lines. And it's not really built for buffing. So I would almost say if you are gonna use a brush like this, make sure that you follow up with either another brush or a beauty blender, because there's no way you're gonna get an even finish using a brush like this. So you guys heard it here first. It might be marketed as a foundation brush, but don't let that fool you. It may not be the best foundation brush out there. Makeup sponges. I was married to makeup sponges before my Sigma F80 Flat Kabuki came along. I still do enjoy makeup sponges, and I think that they are still good to have in your makeup kit. And I still use them every day, but for different use cases. The first one is, of course, the OG of makeup sponges, the Beauty Blender. And it really works if you dampen it. For the longest time, I would just use a dry beauty blender, but when you dampen it and it enlarges to about this size, it really does bounce along the skin. It does give you an airbrushed look. So I am not completely opposed to doing this. I just really love what my Sigma F80 does. I still really love the Beauty Blender. I will probably end up buying one next time Sephora does the Rouge sale. See how excited I get when I talk about Rouge sale? Rouge sale, the Rouge sale. It's actually coming up pretty soon. I'm not sure when, but normally Sephora does a spring and a winter sale. So you know that my basket is already full of stuff. This is definitely a more cost-effective option. This is actually by Real Techniques, and it's their makeup sponge. It is a great alternative to the Beauty Blender, especially if you don't want to spend 20 bucks on a sponge. This goes for about $5, and you can get it at CVS, and you can also get it at Ulta. And I like that it's got a flat side to it because you can also use it for baking. So I do use this for baking sometimes. I also use it for foundation because you can see it's really dirty right now. There's one more tool that I do want to mention, and it is a silicone sponge. Now, I really wanted to like using this. I really did, because the whole premise behind a silicone sponge is that you waste absolutely no product, which you don't, because there's nothing for it to get absorbed into. So in theory, I would say it might seem like a great approach, but it doesn't blend into your skin. So if you put foundation on this and you try to blend it out, it's literally just going to smear all over your face. So great concept, but functionality wise, I wouldn't recommend these. One more thing I do want to cover before we hop into the demo is color matching. How can you figure out what your ideal shade is? What I normally do to match myself is I will take a little bit of foundation and I will literally just brush it right onto my jawline. I've seen makeup artists match you based on your neck. Sometimes your neck is not the same shade as your face, so I don't like to do that. So if you're playing with shades and you literally just want to see what is going to look the best on your skin, I would take a little bit of the product, brush it just between the side of your face and your neck, and then blend it out. I would try to get a sample if you can, just to make sure that that shade is actually going to work for you. The best time I'm able to get the most accurate reading on my makeup is honestly when I'm at home, because when I look at myself in the mirror at home, then I'm the most comfortable because I know that that's what I look like every single day. That's why I love Ulta and I love Sephora, because both of those companies literally let you take stuff, and if it doesn't work out, you can always return it. I'm going to be showing you guys how I do my everyday foundation look, and I'm going to be using the Estee Lauder Double Wear Foundation in the shade 5W1, which I will link for you down below. And I'm going to be applying that with my favorite, the Sigma F80 Flat Kabuki brush. I like to do my brows first before putting foundation on because I always clean them up with concealer, and I find that if I do my brows after I do foundation, there's product on it already and then I have to clean them off, and so I just eliminate some of that extra trouble by just doing my brows first. I've heard a number of different complaints from people about using brushes just because they leave lines on the face. That can happen if you don't use the correct technique. So I'm going to show you guys how I do it right now. First, I'm going to be going in with a primer. So this is the Primed and Peach primer from the Too Faced collection at Sephora. And I'm just going to take a little bit into the tips of my fingers, rub that together and start blending that into my face. And to apply primer, I just put it on like it's a moisturizer. Primers are really just designed to give skin extra hydration or take out some of the excess oil depending on what your skin needs are. I'm gonna take my foundation now and give it a quick shake just to make sure we don't have any weird sediments floating around at the top. I'll just take a little bit onto my hand. Just took way too much. Scoop that back into the bottle. So just taking my flat kabuki brush, I'm gonna start patting that into the skin. And this is a mistake that people make when they use brushes to apply foundation, is they kind of swipe it over the face. You don't want to do that because that's how you get streakiness, lines, and the product doesn't blend seamlessly into the skin. So I just pat it into the skin kind of all over. What this technique also does is it prevents cakiness, because you really need less product than you would normally if you used your fingers or if you use, in my opinion, even a beauty blender. By using this technique, you really save a lot of product and you don't have as much sitting on top of your face. That's how you avoid that cakey look when you're applying foundation. I always try to blend out the foundation through my hairline so you can't see where my foundation ends and my true skin starts to show. So always blend that into the hairline. And I take my foundation down into my neck so it doesn't look like my face and my neck are two different colors. They shouldn't be, but sometimes it's common for the neck to be slightly darker than your face. I don't go too far down. I say I would just go right past the jawline. The sides of your face also, get that foundation all the way towards your ear. If you have baby hairs like I do, blend that right into those baby hairs. And that's pretty much all there is to it. Afterwards, that's when I would use concealer. The reason why I use concealer after a foundation is because I use it for highlighting, but whatever imperfections my foundation did not catch, that's what the concealer will go ahead and cover up. For concealer, I'm gonna be using my favorite, the NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer, and I'm in the shade Caramel. And I just take that with the wand and I'm gonna apply that directly onto my face. Thankfully, my skin is in pretty good condition and I actually don't have any blemishes right now. Watch, I'm gonna have like 3 pimples tomorrow just for me saying that. I'll take it underneath my eyes. I'll put a little bit in the center of the forehead just to give a little bit of dimension to my face. It'll go down the bridge of my nose. I'll put a little bit underneath my nose just to brighten that area because for me, I do have a little bit of discoloration there. And then I'll tap a little bit on the bottom of my chin just to give my face a little bit more definition and accentuate the highest points of my face. I actually do prefer using a damp beauty blender for an airbrushed look. And I know that might sound kind of weird, but I found that with beauty blenders, you can achieve an airbrush look. As I mentioned earlier, you could also use a fluffy powder brush to do this, but I find that using a beauty blender is the easiest. I'm just gonna take that right underneath my eyes and I'm just gonna blend that out. Concealer is now done. So to set the face, we always want to set it with a powder. And you can use pretty much any powder you want. Growing up, I used mostly pressed powders, but since then, I've really gotten into loose powders because I find that they last a lot longer. So if you have oily or combination skin, then I would highly recommend looking into a loose powder just because you're gonna get that mattifying look and you're gonna have that last throughout the day. I'm gonna be using the Cover FX loose powder today. Then taking a nice fluffy powder brush, I'm just gonna lightly tap that into the lid. And then taking that brush, we're gonna lightly dust that onto the face. Now that we have set our face, it is completely up to you if you want to go with a blush, a bronzer, contour, highlight. You can do all of that once you've set your face with the powder. For the sake of this video, I'm just going to finish up with the Makeup Forever Mist and Fix Setting Spray, and we are good to go. Thank you so much, you guys, for tuning into today's Basics 101 video. I was really excited to do this little mini series just because so many people have asked for it. So let me know what you think by leaving me a comment down below. Give this video a big thumbs up if you liked it. And don't forget to subscribe. I really want you guys to subscribe. Keep enjoying my videos. Keep telling me what you like and what you don't like. I will see you next Wednesday for my Basics 101 series. But I will also have a new video up on Friday, which I'm pretty excited about. Thank you so much again, you guys, for joining. I love you so much. I would never be able to do this without you guys, and I will see you next time.